people still want to do business with humans, right? And so we need your human. If you are only a business online, but yet you demand or ask something personal of me in what your offer is, there's a miss. Stop sending people outside of the conversation that they are already in to do business with you.
Welcome back to the Sustainable Creator Podcast. We are so excited to have Kendra Ashton with us today. Our conversation today is going to revolve heavily around sales, specifically around selling in the DM. So you guys have a lot to look forward to in today's conversation. But first of all, welcome to the podcast, Kendra. We are so happy that you are here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
You're welcome. Okay, well, we've got to do intros first. And I guess we should probably start with us just in case anyone's new to the podcast. The person you are listening to or watching right now is Joe. I'm Joe.
And I'm Lyndon.
We're business coaches. We also run a membership for creative business owners. And we talk about a lot of fun things. One of the topics being sales. And Kendra, I'm going to actually brag on you for a second, is actually one of the members inside of the Breakroom. And every time sales comes up in one of our calls, she just goes off and everyone leans forward and starts writing down furiously in their notebooks. So y'all are in for a treat, I can tell you already. So would you like to introduce yourself? Would love for you to share anything you want to.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. I just feel like so much could be said about you guys. The exact same thing. You guys are set apart and it's just so good. But yes, my name is Kendra. I live south of Nashville. I am mostly a family and wedding photographer. Left the corporate America world where I was doing customer experience in 2020. So right in the middle of the pandemic. And I also get the honor of being a business coach for photographers. A couple things that are just high level. I really just love people. I love the Lord. I love to combine that and walk in my skills and calling and do that as faithfully as I can and to steward that and just find a whole lot of joy that we get to be entrepreneurs and do this whole entire thing. So yeah, a little bit about me.
So I think this thread might tie back a little bit into corporate for you, but when did you first start thinking about sales?
Yeah, it's so funny because my tie back to it is that it started in connecting it with people. I actually was a recruiter first in the corporate space. And one of the things at the company I worked for, we talked about how we hired our customers. And then I started to recognize, well, if you don't make the process and experience well when you're hiring, they don't become your customers anymore because you've ruined that chance in that relationship. And so then I recognized that it's actually 100% about the human, like 100% of business is 100% people.
Uh-huh.
If I really believe that what I have is beneficial and serves somebody's life, then like I have to believe in that to go walk in integrity and give them that gift. Right. And that is what I think, I think people talk about that's what sales is, but it's truly just let me walk in my gift and give it to you because I believe in it that much. And that started all the way back in corporate when I recognized I am actually still selling when I was doing recruiting and hiring on these people. If I didn't do it well, I lost their sales because I didn't treat them well.
Sales is an act of service, and the way that you deliver your service funnels back into more sales. It all connects. I love your heart behind it so much. And I know that we're going to get into a lot. I'm curious to kind of set a barometer for everyone because I know that you're actively selling in DMs all day long just because we've had our own conversations. I feel like I've got the behind the scenes look. If you were to estimate the percentage that your sales come through DMs, what would it be?
Top of my head, 85, 90%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. So I wanted you to share that because it just gives everyone an idea of like this actually works for you. You know your stuff. And I think your heart behind it is what makes it such a relatable conversation for everyone listening too, because there's so much talk lately on, I know that I want to make more money in sales for my business, but I don't want to do it in a way that feels gross.
Yeah. I refer to that as like Matilda's dad, right? Like if you saw Matilda and how he's
It has been so long. That is such a throwback.
like when he rolls back and like it doesn't feel good to sell that way when it's not aligned. And so yeah, I'm excited for this conversation because selling and being in your DMs is actually fun. It's a joyful
Yeah.
way to do this.
To get the 800-pound gorilla out of the way, most people, when they think about like selling in the DMs, we've all received the cold pitches in DMs that have nothing to do with us. They are copy paste and they get deleted almost immediately. And you made the comment earlier of it's human first. How do you define like your approach to sales in DMs as human first being different than the generic copy and paste sales?
Yep. Yeah, perfect question. When you think about the sell first, when you pursue the sell, you oftentimes can lose the person. You can lose the human. When you pursue humans, the cells just come because you genuinely pursued the human. And so most people, when you think about when you're just flipping through and you're watching people's stories, it's just their real lives. And my offers are mixed into just my real life, but it's actually genuinely fun. And so I say it all the time, but like if you don't know anything about their life, especially when you're talking about sales in DMs, right? When you're kind of exchanging stories or you're watching them or they've reached out to you, if you've not connected and you've let them just DM you and you've only soaked up what they've said to you, but you've never asked back, you've never had communication back, selling to them is kind of not your lane. Like you you kind of haven't earned that yet, right? And so it's genuinely having that conversation, and doing that first. So I don't think you pursue sales in the DMs. I think you pursue humans in your DMs and sales follow because it's natural.
Well, that's good. That's so good. You flipped it on its head and set the intention, which that's amazing. I love that.
This just takes me back to when I was in grad school. I took a class on executive coaching and like they broke down a framework of like the levels of listening. Do you know like the level 1, level 2, level 3?
I don't. Teach me.
So generally, like when you think about being in a conversation with someone, like a level 1 is you hear the words coming to you and it's there, like you're listening because you're participating in a conversation. Level 2 is the type of things that I see you doing right now. You're nodding your head. You're visually showing cues of like, I'm engaged in this conversation. I'm participating. And then level 3 is where you are actually asking questions of like, I cared enough about what you said and I'm going to follow up with this like little bit of thing that I care about going on a tangent here because you said something about listening and I'm telling you a tidbit about my fun facts of levels of listening that I'm contributing but adding to the follow-up. And I think level 2 is difficult in DMs because you can't really show body language. I mean, someone argue that GIFs are great body language in DMs, but level 3 where you get to ask that follow-up question of like, it's not just like me talking about myself over and over. It's like, I'm going to take an interest. And so this is now a two-way conversation.
100%. I'm an analogy person. And I just thought when you were saying that, like, imagine playing tennis with somebody, but you're the only one hitting the ball, hitting the ball, hitting the It's like that's not fun for the other person. So if you're only in your DMs to how many responses you can get and how many like engagement, I hear all the time, well, my engagement is lower. And it's like, tell me again when you can sit at home and have 50 people know something about your life and you can still do it with your butt on the couch, like what a privilege. Right. That's 50 people hitting their ball into your court. Man, grab a rack and go back and have that conversation and enjoy that. Right. Because that is and to your point, we, as business owners, we can accidentally, because we're just so excited. And if something looks like a sale, we're like, we sniff it out. We're like, that feels like a sale. And so whatever they say back and we're looking at their words, and to your point about active listening, they can say, hey, sorry, it was such a long week. But I wanted to let you know that blank, blank. And we just go on that one spot about our business. And we miss that they just told us it's been a hard week.
Right.
Right. We weren't listening because we're just trying to consume for like us because, oh my gosh, we're going to get a sell, when it's like, wait, pause. That sell is still there. Like, see that human, go back and forth, hit that ball back and forth with them, really listen and enjoy, like get into that conversation, get to know them as a human. But yeah, I think that's great. Totally
That
sense.
ties into a conversation that I was having recently with another female entrepreneur who was struggling with how do I walk up to someone and start that interaction. In this case, it may be in DMs, like that initial interaction that you have with someone, knowing that you are hoping it will result in a sale, but not wanting to come across as ingenuine and kind of freaking out on the inside on like, what if they then want to be friends and then I feel like I've steered them wrong? And I'm curious your thoughts on that too, because I think that is something, this internal dialogue that can happen with women, especially where you're afraid of ruining a relationship. And that fear can stop you from doing any kind of action at all. And what I hear from you is like the intention matters, of course, for sure, right? But how do you take that first step so that you are putting yourself out there and starting a relationship, whether or not it leads to a sale? Do you have any reframes around that?
Yeah, I think the first one is to give permission to be excited about potentially working with people. That's good. That's healthy. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to try to not be excited about potentially working with people, right? Like what a gift that you can be inspired by someone's life or you can see what they and be like, oh, that would be so much fun to, work with them in whatever capacity that you do that in. I think that what happens is if or when they book, if they do, what a blessing. You're ready for it because you've actually seen this person for who they are. And I think the biggest thing is and there's so many things around this. There's so many different ways that you can work with people and that you can serve them and some of it is by them purchasing your offer. But some of them is there's other ways to serve people that you can still do that. I'm trying to give this like a real example. If I saw somebody that I genuinely wanted to work with and I followed them and they followed me back and we just I have to be reminded that there's things about that human that is exciting and inspiring and like that I'm encouraged by that have nothing to do with if they purchase from me or not. So to just celebrate that as a human, cultivate that. And if they do, incredible. But there's probably something you can still learn from them, the interaction with them, be inspired by them, encouraged by them. They may help you to have those conversations genuinely first. And even if it's not a sale, they may actually strengthen your ability to then go and have a stronger sales conversation later. But I don't think we have to feel bad because we may have people that we want, to work with. I think the thing that keeps popping in my mind, them purchasing from us is not the reward. It's that human interaction exists that we get to have that's just genuine. And because we have that genuine interaction, then it's potential that they can work with us, which is a gift. But the true reward is that we just get to interact with humans in a social app all the time and have conversations. And I always say for me, when I'm on social, I want to be that when they bump into my page, that they are encouraged, inspired, that it feels warmer, that they get a sigh, like there's goodness there. The other thought that I have around this is that letting go of the timeline of when they
Mm-hmm.
may work with you because
Mm-hmm.
you may accidentally have set this expectation of when you think they're going to want to work with you. And then you
Yes.
start getting in your head or you start comparing it to the goalpost you put up. Like
Mm-hmm.
you put it up. And now that same thing is now discouraging you when just let go of that expectation of when,
Yes.
right? Because,
Yes.
and then the last little thought really quick, because you mentioned like, what if you are close? If the people that you end up getting close to, if you can't serve them with your offer because of like that's a quick little pulse check and audit. Like if you start to shrink around that, that's a quick pulse check and audit of like, is this the healthiest version that I think it is, right? And there should be some
Mm-hmm.
questions around.
Mm-hmm. Mm. That's such a good point.
I think one of the interesting questions is like you made the comment of like if someone comes across my account and wants to have a conversation. That makes it sound organic and easy. But if you are someone that is not having many DM conversations right now, how do you think about taking intentional action to start more conversations?
I think we live in a wonderful time that, especially when we're talking about DMs, we're talking about stories. So you're watching people, or maybe they're putting stuff on your feed. And by the way, you can hang out, you can get and message somebody, one, because you respond to a story, or two, you see something in their feed and then you message them. One of the biggest things that I talk about is just becoming like obsessed with humans. Like study, especially from a sales point of view, study their real lives. If you look at their real lives apart from your offer, you're going to see so much. They're going to share so much. And it may just be like that little statement of like, it was a busy weekend for us. The boys had soccer, or it was wild. We went to X, Y, and Z. Man, just genuinely like what makes you curious about them. And it could be, it's honestly not usually related to your offer. And we have to think about this as consumers. Like, even though we're business owners, as consumers, I have never loved if a DM pops up and it is somebody who is trying to connect something random about my life to their offer. Like, that's just a little weird, you know? So, like,
Mm-hmm.
don't do that. Be like, I saw you like orange. Do you know I love orange in photo shoots? You know, like, that's just weird. Like, you know, that's not what we're going to do at all. Find something that's genuinely like that. Maybe they traveled somewhere. Maybe their story said something about like what they did, and just where can you human to human relate to them? Again, the goal is not to sell, the goal is the human. And when you do that, then if somebody wants to work with you, you know how much more peace like comes with that, because you've
Mm-hmm.
built this actual relationship versus trying to convince someone. It's not fun.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting as you were talking, I am hearing a through line because a lot of people fall into this trap where you have a low sales month. And so all of a sudden you have to rush into doing all these sales activities, right? We need to do whatever we can to increase the bottom line. What does that look like? But what you're saying is more of a longevity, ongoing relationship building approach. This is about consistency. This is not a rush to build relationships. This is you are actively building relationships constantly over time, because you never know when it is going to pay off, whether it is through a connection that you needed, a word that you needed, a sale that you needed, an opportunity that came through just when you needed it. And that is such a powerful reminder, because when the slumps happen, of course that reaction is going to be there. I gotta do this. But what you're talking about is a much more proactive approach.
100%. And again, I'm an analogy girl. Cells is simmering. A peaceful, joyful, having fun way of doing it in an aligned way of selling is simmering. What we often see is a boil, a rolling boil, right? I'm urgent, or I feel like everyone should want this offer because I love this offer, so you should love this offer as much as I love this offer. And if you don't, then I'm confused and I'm boiling, and that's what's happening. And that doesn't feel good, because then it's kind of one of those things when you're hungry, everything looks good, right? And you're just eating, like you go to the grocery store, you're just buying so much. When you want to sell, then it's like every conversation must turn to a sell. And you're just boiling and it's urgent, versus a peaceful, fun, enjoyable, authentic, aligned, easy way to sell is that you simmer. It's constant, but it's not at high heat. It's not fully turned on all the time. And you have moments where you need a rolling boil, but it starts from a simmer, right? You're not going from cold to burnt. And that is what makes it joyful, is that you recognize, hey, each thing is building into this. And this is what is peaceful, versus feeling like you've got to go find 20 bricks to stack. You know, you've been stacking them the 20 times leading forward, like before, right?
So
So yeah,
good.
In kind of prepping for this, like one of the statements that you had made was the first conversation isn't always about the sale. If you're thinking about people starting this simmering boil process, if they're not supposed to talk about a sale and they're not supposed to connect oranges to wanting an orange in a photo shoot, what do you actually talk about when you start that conversation?
yeah. I I think you just talk about them, right? You talk about their life, their what you're seeing in their world. You encourage. How many of us just would love to just be encouraged, right? It's whether it's as simple as, hey, that color looks really good on you, or hey, your eyes look, or hey, your hair looks great. Like, it's just genuinely opening. And this is the thing. We as business owners, we get to invite people into our offer. So let's stick with that inviting idea. You take sales out, how would you start inviting anyone into your world? And it would just genuinely be from a genuine conversation. If I had to give somebody a very tangible way, it would be, how can you encourage the people around you? How can you call to light something that you see in them? I don't think there's anybody on the planet right now that does not need more encouragement and ways to feel uplifted and brighter in their life. So that is one of the biggest ways, is just to genuinely, and also like to genuinely encourage. But another thing that people as humans love to do is we love naturally to help or to provide value. So if there's something in their world that you see, whether it is, hey, you're gardening, I want to garden, now you have to really want to garden. Don't just start picking up hobbies so that you can start conversations, right? But if that is genuine, asking, hey, where did you get that? Or, hey, do you like that type of cup? Or, hey, I saw that that you're always walking at a park. Like, I don't really feel as safe to do that. Can you tell me how you do it? Like, people love to help. So I would tangibly say, encourage the heck out of somebody or ask them for help on something that you see in their world you'd love to see in your own world. That would just start the conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if I tie this back to my framework of levels of listening, what I immediately heard you saying here is like how people spend time on Instagram specifically, if we're talking about that. Like a level 2 is liking a story someone's putting up. A level 3 is replying of like, I like how this color brings out your skin tone. And for an outfit specifically, if we're talking about that. And so like it's a difference of, are you like doing the minimum to show someone that you appreciate something or you're engaging, or do you go just like a half step further and actually take that conversation into a DM rather than waiting for them to come to you? Is that correct?
Brilliant way to say that. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And how encouraging, because by the way, when you lead that type of example, like action, or you go first, like so many people start to do that back. And when you're not as discouraged, if you're having low engagement, two questions I would ask: are you engaging to others? And two, are you asking for engagement in the sense that like you're posting things that somebody could respond back to, or that you're asking for their opinion, that you're happy that they're there? That's exactly, and yes, to your point, kind of passively liking. As I mean, no listening would be to just go right through people's stories and not say anything. You are kind of like, hey, I'm here when you like a story, or respond with an emoji or interact with polls or something like that. But man, you really open up the front door to your house, if you will. Yeah, when you reply 100%.
If we were to make this tangible of like inviting people in, or for like prompts for people to reach out or things like that, are there any like go-tos that you think about of like ways to ask a question or things to do so that people will take that action first?
Yes, I want you to think about your own behavior when you're looking at people's stories. Naturally, what we're doing is people naturally are kind of just tapping through, right? So when you really do want someone's engagement or to come back, there's a couple different tips. Maybe I would say is I'd pop in your first story with something that is very easily identified as you, and that one obviously is going to be your face. Pretty easy to tell it's you, it's your face. But it's like, so a picture of you, whatever it might be. But you also may be able to build that familiarity with like a certain part, like your desk, right? Like eventually they may not know it at first, but you start doing it enough, people will be like, oh, that view is Kendra, right? Or that, oh, that's London, whatever it might be. The reason I say that is because we want to break up their scroll, like, because they're just tapping through. And what can happen is a lot of people do a little bit too much curation in their stories where it just looks like another ad, because you've actually not made it look human. You've made it look so good that it's like easy to skip, right? We actually want to see you're human. That's where I think stories has a lot of human in it. And so if you do kind of show your face, but then what I love to do is to take less words on your story and just maybe even put, hey, I'd love your feedback on this, or hey, other women who are X, Y, and Z. And then the next slide is asking the question and be like, what do y'all like? Have y'all had any experience with this? What are your thoughts? I think it's okay to just ask them, right? And say, any other mamas felt this way, or any other women felt this way, or are there other photographers or entrepreneurs, or whatever the identifying link is between you and I for this. But I think it comes from showing who it is. Some of us need to get like business degrees with how much, like when you're going through people's stories, they wrote so much that you have to like hold it down and your thumb ends up like kind of the blood loss is happening because you have to hold it down so long because there's so much font. We got to pause. Yeah, we got to break it down a little bit. Like easy to consume. We got, we're all little goldfish out there trying to consume. So a practical way though is to break it up and ask for it from what's that relatable link? Is it just that we're both women? Is it that we're both photographers? Is it both that we're night people? Whatever the question is, if you want feedback from somebody, what's that relatable link, and call that out so that people can see that in them and stop and actually give you feedback.
Yeah. We all just want to connect. That's all it is. We just want to connect. And when we're given the chance to truly connect with other people on the topics that we love to talk about, of course we're going to take that opportunity. Now, my follow-up question that I think a lot of people might be thinking here is, it feels like there's a fine line between sharing too much quote unquote personal content versus sales content. And the fear that a lot of people have is, if I share more of my life and the things I like on a personal level, and I'm having conversations with people, building relationships, that's all great. But how do I get them to actually see me as an expert so that they want to work with me?
Yeah, Sadie Robertson says to be a good leader, you have to lead with a limp. And essentially this concept is that people still want to do business with humans, right? And so we need your human. In fact, in a post-COVID world, one of the leading customer satisfaction metrics were that the person was human and showed empathy. Like people want to see our human. And there's a very big difference in saying like giving your therapy, spiel, which like, where you're saying so much in that regard, right? Versus peeling back layer one that just reminds people it's human to human. Because what happens, especially when people are interacting with brands and businesses online, is that if you are only a business online, but yet you demand or ask something personal of me in what your offer is, there's a miss. So if you're asking for vulnerability because you're offered, like I'm thinking photographers, if you're thinking about web designers, if you're thinking about whatever, you're asking personal, vulnerable things of this person to kind of show up as their best or to give you insight to their business. So, or if you're doing copy, like you're wanting this nitty gritty story while you're over there behind the curtain, like we don't know anything about you. That's hard to ask people for that pull when we've not demonstrated that at all. And again, there is a difference. I would say stories are 80% personal, like fun, real life, and probably 20% where we are actively putting our offer out there would be my percentage. But even if that 70, 80% that is real life, I'm still, again, just letting you into my backyard, not my home. There has to be, we're safeguarding, like we are wise, right? We understand that there's certain places for that. Your humanness does not erase your professionalism and your expertise. In fact, I would say that it invites people in to being even more like in awe and allows them to come that way as well. Right. And so I think there's a difference of when we go in and our humanness is like full of complaint or it feels heavy to always engage or something like that. That's very different than showing that you're human, that you have joys in life and those types of things. And I don't think you have to use it like your diary or your journal. I think you can use it more like a scrapbook. Right?
Yes,
See the
that's
difference.
a great way of putting it.
Never said that before, but right here. So.
Make a mental note. No, that you said
Merch line coming soon.
Another thing you said there that really resonated was your humanness does not erase your expertise or professionalism. That really clicks. That was good. I'm going to write that down too.
If we think about, like, now you've started a conversation, you've made it into the DMs. Format is an interesting question these days with the number of options you have to have that conversation. You have text, you have voice memos, you have videos you can send, you have GIFs you can send. If you think about like forming that relationship, is there one that's better than the other? Is there something you should focus on? How do you think about having that conversation once it's started?
I think this is going to be different for every person of which one is better. I think And here's the thing, the encouraging part is that they can all get better just with permission and like as you're like learning and you're in that. I personally, man, I just like speak with my voice. It is something that I love. But again, it depends on who your audience is, because just going back to this, you have to become obsessed with humans, because if your audience is mostly mothers and they are up in the middle of the night because they are up with their babies, quite honestly, you sending a voice message is not helpful for them. Like they can't listen to that, think of where they're at, like think of when they're responding. So I personally love a combination of several of these because it helps kind of meet each need. However, for you as each person, what is your strength? Like what are the best option for you is what you're most confident in today. I'm going to encourage you to keep moving that and to push that and to grow the other skill sets for the other ones. But if you feel the best with writing it out, amazing. I will tell you, again, this comes into how do people consume information. If you're sending them paragraphs and they need school credit to be able to read it because it took so long, then we got to break that up. And are we speaking to it from confidence, or we're trying to convince them? So we just say so many extra words. Like, we want to be mindful. A big thing is you can create a lot infographics. I should have looked this up within the last couple of years. It was literally like, it was insane. It was like 300% increase in people consuming and calling back to memory the information of an infographic versus just a paragraph. So the idea of you sending maybe a picture, and on my phone, for me as a photographer, I have all of my packages in on graphics that are investment that are just on my phone, so that when I'm in DMs, this is a side note really quick, I'm sorry, we can come back. Stop sending people outside of the conversation that they are already in to do business with you. So if people are in the DMs doing business with you and then you send them to a link to your website, they've come over for dinner and you told them to go pick up to-go food at a different place. They're there, right there at your table. Stay in there. So do we text? Do we video? Do we do graphics? Do we do visuals? Whatever keeps them right in there and keeps you most confident and can be portrayed the most confident is what you do. So it's whichever one. I will just say, if you're going to go text, make it easy to digest, right? Make it easy to digest. Maybe also make it into a graphic, right? So it's really easy for the visual people. Feel free to shoot another voice message that takes you 60 seconds to say, hey, just in case like reading that text just wasn't it, let me just kind of explain that to you real quick. And you do that really quick. Am I going to say all of them? That sounds like I am. And I think that is what I do, is I try to do all of it because I think it meets the need without it feeling overwhelming. And again, you're talking to a human like a human. So it doesn't feel like you're selling to them. You're just talking to them because you believe in your offer.
Yeah, that's so good. The infographic part made me think of when you are talking to someone about a vacation they just went on and they're describing it to you. Your first question is, do you have photos? I want to see a photo. Show me. That made so much sense.
Yep. And how many times do we think of something, like we think of what something looks like, and then we actually see it and we're like, whoa, did not.
Right. Yes.
Like, whoa. Because we're visual people, whether or not we have a visual. So we're going to make one up. You don't give it to me. So give it to them, right? So
literally me when I read a book versus watch the movie. Like, oh, not at all how I saw that character, but this is cool.
Yeah, exactly that.
So if I take us on like a tangent for the nerds among us, if you've talked about like keeping people in the chat and not sending them somewhere else, if you could just like vary at a high level, what does the sales funnel for a DM sales look like? Like, where do they enter? How long are they at different phases? And where does the transaction happen?
Am I allowed to be a little spicy?
Yeah, please. We love it when Kendra gets spicy about sales.
Okay. I need us to be willing to be inconvenienced. And what I mean by that is we often build systems for our comfort as business owners, but not for the ease of people to make a purchase from us. So we have all these forms. Go here, fill this out. Let me have a questionnaire about who my daddy is, my dog's name, what food I feed, like all of the things, because we ask these huge long questionnaires because it is better for us. I get that. It actually really is better for us. But what it does is it ends up putting a barrier between them purchasing with us and us, and like them it being an easy decision. From a neuroscience standpoint, 95% of purchasing decisions are made from an emotional standpoint, 5% logical. So when you send people out and you make them go to a website and then it loads and you even give them, it's a couple seconds of it loading, and then they turn around and they say a question to their partner, whoever it might be, and they're already now logical versus they were right there. And emotional isn't like, oh, make me feel something all the time. It could be just, this is joyful. It's easy. This is fun. I'm excited still. Perked my interest. So when we stay in that and we bypass all the barriers that quite frankly, we don't have the luxury to have yet, because those are the ideal version of our business and we're not there yet. We're still trying to make the sales. Then what happens is we lose them when we have all those barriers. So when we say, what's it usually look like? It looks a little bit longer. It's a little bit more, quote, inconvenienced in the sense that you may be sending, that's why the graphics are on my phone, because I'm not sending them to my website, right? I'm having the conversation right there in there. And then once they say, yes, I'm ready, I personally, there's different, obviously there's several different payment methods. If somebody was going to put down a retainer, there's several different ones that you can have payment links. So I just send the link to that. Then after that, I can move you out and put you in a portal. I can move you out, and send the email or whatever it might be. But we're going to do the meal. We're going to eat the meal at the table where we just are in DMs, and then we can move out of there. So, there's a couple different ways that can look. One of the things that pops to mind, especially if you have one that you're in active conversation with, Instagram, you can pin 3 different conversations at the top. So if you want to make sure that you're keeping up with that, pin some of those, that keeps it top of mind. So if you have 3 active conversations that, you're kind of nurturing, one, that's a wonderful to have 3 ongoing active, like that's great. More than that, incredible. You can set reminders on your phone. You can keep notes on your phone. You can have an ongoing list on a board, whatever. And those are more tangible ways. I do think that having sales conversation in DMs often looks like, because you're simmering, it may get a little bit hot, and and it may not turn all the way over into, a full blown purchase yet, but that's okay. You keep nurturing, and because you're engaging with that person, you'll pop up in each other's stories and you keep interacting. And again, it's joyful. You're having fun with it. I think we haven't said this yet, but part of what sometimes can happen when you believe in your offer because you're confident in it, you can actually be the one that starts the sales conversation. You don't have to wait to somebody that raises their hand and says, hey, I'm ready to purchase. You can actually be like, oh my goodness, I would love to do that for you. Like, that's my heart. I'd love to do that for you. I'd love to serve you in that way. Like, that would be so good. And they may be ready right then to purchase. If not, then you put it out there and you can still foster that over time.
You want to eliminate as much friction as possible. And it's interesting to hear about that in the pre-sale process, because we tend to think about it after you've made the sale, and it applies before the sale happens too. Yeah, 100%. Definitely made sense.
So I definitely have follow-up questions about the turn in the conversation of like, this went from relationship to we're talking about sales.
Yeah.
But since you brought up the idea of pinning 3 conversations in Instagram, if those are at the top, if you really want a sale, you're going to want to have that conversation every day. What happens if that conversation stalls out? You don't want to be the person that sends them another message every day and it's just a wall of one-sided conversation of, you there? You still up? Are we friends? How do you think about that, like a stalled out conversation, if it's someone that you think is a lead that you're having a conversation?
Yep. I think that it's a stalled out in conversation because it's a human on the other side, and being a human is complex, and us living our life is complex. So personally, for me, what that looks like, because essentially this is a conversation over follow-up. How do we come back? How am I keeping this alive? And I genuinely think there's 2 different things. For me, I'm going to follow up at the very most 2 times, and I'm going to do it in the conversation that we've had. I'm not going to go to some other platform or email you because I have that, or text message because I have that. That's wild. I'm not doing that. And how the verbiage I'm going to use is to make sure, which is point number 2, that I am not accidentally putting shame or embarrassment on that person because I followed up, especially because life just happens. And if you've been in any, like, gone through anything in life, you know how bad sometimes you want to work or do something so bad, but between that conversation and Monday morning, life happened, right? And it's just like, quite possibly you're like, I don't have the space in the compartment to put that in. There's the whole filing cabinet is full. I've got to put a pause on that. It's a deep desire. I just have to put a pause. And people, I did a anonymous survey a couple of years ago on ghosting because it was so popular in the photography industry. I'm getting ghost. 100% of the respondents put that they never meant to ghost. There were 2 things. They didn't recognize they were because there was no follow-up from the person. The person never asked a question. They didn't realize they were ghosting. You had never asked
Mm-hmm.
anything, right?
Yep.
So you might think that it's stalling or they're ghosting, but like, if you look back, you just told them, let me know if you have any questions. They didn't. Like, they didn't. So they didn't respond. Like, you didn't. You don't have a doorbell at your front door. They didn't ring it. Like, there's nothing there. That's just what happened. But the other thing is that life happened. And so they accidentally ghosted and didn't talk to you because life happened. So when I'm thinking of following up, I want to make sure I'm using language that doesn't accidentally welcome in that embarrassment. Because then now what happens is they feel awkward. And so they won't come back and work with us because they just feel awkward, even though they really desire it to.
Right.
So there's 2 things I'm going to do. The verbiage I'm going to use is, oftentimes I say something along the lines of like, hey, just popping this up on our radar. Our radar. It's both of us, right? I'm in this with you. I'm putting this back up. But before I'm doing that, I'm usually asking a question and ending every conversation with a question. And again, one that's relevant, something along the lines of like, does one of these options, stick out to you? Or does one of these options serve your family best? Or when you're thinking about what you want to do, does option A or B? Like, it's a real way to start that so that they know that they're coming back, so that I can, one, either say popping this back up on our radar, or coming back and saying something along the lines of like, hey, when I was thinking of option B, I actually also thought of blank. I'm adding on, right, to the conversation. The other way to follow up with people is to just go back to engaging with them how you normally like respond to a story. And then they're like, oh yeah, oh my God, yeah, I was gonna go talk to my husband about that, and I didn't even get back. It's just you're putting yourself back on that radar. So after that, if there's nothing, I want to make sure shame is not there. I'm unpinning them. They've gone from a warm lead to just, maybe they're just a little cold now, and that's okay. You know how we're going to go back to simmering, and we're just going to go back and engage with them as humans, because remember, we valued them as humans before we valued them as a potential buyer. And we go back and we still have fun, and we recognize there's going to be more people to come.
This kind of ties into the next question, but I am curious if you have another layer to it. How does one recover from that feeling of rejection that happens if someone does not want to work with you, or if you never heard back from them? Because whether we want it to or not, it can still affect us on an emotional level.
The first thing is, again, not to shame yourself, that it's okay, that it matters. Like, it's okay that you had hope and then it kind of fizzled out and you're like, oh man, like I really thought that was going to work. I think that's amazing, that you had that hope and that you did that. And I think letting yourself feel the disappointment of that is okay. I think the second thing is that, as cliche as it can sound, like, you look at it as data, like look at it as just data of humanness, of your interaction. Like, what felt really good? Did you see yourself grow in that certain thing? Did you feel more confident in that? Whatever it might be. This is a very probably unexpected thought around this, but I think one of the easiest ways that rejection doesn't burn or sting, or at least hold us back, is that we have done the work prior, that every single person we talk to doesn't feel like a make or break. It just feels like they get to add. And what that means is, personally, what that meant is, before, like, I went full time, I had 6 months of expenses, that I saved because I always wanted to work from that place of competence versus that boil and that, oh my God, I have to do this because if I don't, then I won't be able to pay that can be really difficult. And so if you're there, again, no shame on that. Just be aware of that. Like, ooh, this felt more like rejection because I was counting on that because I had put more pressure on this to mean
Mm,
something about myself, that I could pay
mm,
my bills, that I could really do this full time, right? Like it can mean something more when you eliminate that than it just is like, oh, okay, well, what can I learn from this? What does this like? What didn't feel right? Did anything feel misaligned? Like now that you're kind of out of it, can you look back and be like, well, I was
yeah.
kind of having to force that a little bit. Like that didn't feel right, right?
Yep.
Like you can take a quick audit of
Yep.
it. I think too is just I say it all the time, 100% of business is just 100% people. So like you and then 100% of business problems are 100% life problems. Like we are just humans doing life. So like we don't have to make their decision to not do business with us mean anything about us. Right? I don't have to internalize that and say I can be disappointed, but I don't have to be disappointed and then attach on, man, I just can't talk to anybody right. God, I probably made them confused. Maybe it's not. Should I even be doing this offer? When we
Mm,
start to attach it, I always say don't should on yourself because when you start, I should have done this or I should have done that. It's just shame talk. It's really hard to do business and then to do business with shame talk on top of it. So
mm,
I think you can be disappointed. I don't think you have to make it mean anything about you. And I think having the discipline prior to get yourself, even if it's just a smidge ahead, so that each person you talk to, prospect, doesn't feel like a make or break in your personal life from a financial standpoint, will be a
mhm,
huge victory.
mm. So good.
So I think the last question before we get to our 100 first days structure that we take everyone through is I said we were going to come back to this turn thing. So like you've had a relationship with someone, like you've had conversations, like you've been taken an interest, or like you're casually like at the very beginning of like you've exchanged one message. Are there any things or ways that you have identified that, oh, this person is actually a lead, not just someone that I'm engaging with, and knowing that it's a good time to turn the conversation?
Yeah, I feel like this is um I have a little bit different of an offer. I'm a photographer, right? So to me, every human, because I believe in what I do, could be a potential lead, right? Because I believe in preserving life, right? Like in like taking images and like you're gonna want that. So that's a little so then let me put myself like if you have a specific offer, then if any person that you engage with that is someone who would need what you have to offer, know someone that you that could need your offer, then they're probably then it's possible that they're a lead. So at that point, I all I can picture like what is again analogy is I think you go up and down and like you spin around. It's like just a squiggly line. Like you go in and out of potentially being able to serve that person and going and it just being like conversation and relationship versus when they may need your offer. You go in and out of that at different times because of maybe their ability to purchase your offer. Again, when you build just real relationship with that person, you're thinking much less about offering them your service and more about them. And what happens is because by the way, you can tell people about your service in your stories and in your feed post and all of that, that they're knowing that this is what you do all the time. So when it happens, when you're in DMs and you're talking back and forth, and you believe that what you're doing people need, then at any point they're giving the insight to you that your offer would make their life easier. And that means you have to know the problems and the concerns and the issues and the hardships that your client would go through. And as an identifier, that your offer is the answer to that, right? Your offer is that remedy, which means you maybe need to take a second to write down what are the identifiers? What are the symptoms that you need my offer? And
Mhm,
once you start seeing those symptoms showing up in stories, a quick, okay, again, this is where I'd use my voice and I'd be like, okay, quick thing. We're talking about this. You you do know that like with my website, like that's what we do. Like that's what I'm trying to take off of people's plates. Like, girl, we got to talk about this. Right? It's that simple. because you're just like, what? They just said like, if you were a doctor and someone's like, hey, my head hurts, this hurt, you wouldn't be like, I hope they'll ask me if I think that they have chronic migraines. Like, I hope they ask me. No, you'd be like, hey, I have the remedy for this. Like, I want to help you. But you have to be able to identify the symptoms. Otherwise, yeah, to your point, you're just looking for this right time to like slide in this thing, and that doesn't feel aligned, right? That's why it feels awkward. You're just like waiting for this weird gap versus being like, wait, you feel this way. I've got an answer to that. Let me help you with that. And if they say no, again, remember, we're not taking that and meaning anything about us, or they're saying, all right, now, cool, let's still invest. Don't go, stop talking to them, right? Because it was just the tennis thing. But yeah.
Wow. So good.
If I think back to like, we are building a community for creative service providers, I sent a lot of those messages of like, we think you would be an amazing fit. We would love to have you in what we're building. I didn't break a single relationship. I sent probably in the dozens of those messages. No one was like, how dare you invite me? And like, none of that broke relationships, none of it, but it feels very like vulnerable, like sending that message. And yes, I will be honest, I copy pasted some of them and those ones didn't do as well. The ones that I actually built it on a personal relationship I had absolutely did better.
I just wrote down the word personal. That is, yes, that's the game changer. And it takes 15 more seconds. 15 more seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think just like mental twist for myself that I have learned is I write long paragraphs that are very dense that take a college degree to read. So if I send voice memo pitches, it comes off as a human and like, oh, there's a person behind this. This just wasn't written by an academic professor that cares about big words, because I have that tendency.
And when you know that, there's no shame in it. It's just like, and here's what's amazing. Some people want both of that. And then they hear the person and they're like, oh, I get it. Like, and it just connects even more. And you took the extra time to do 60 seconds of reading what you just put down.
Right.
Like, we have to be willing to be inconvenienced, because here's the thing. I'd rather be inconvenienced and profitable than stuck in my ego and comfort and then not making any money. You know?
So good. That's just my reaction this whole episode. Everything is just so good. All right. Well, we have one main question left, and then we're going to head into a lightning round.
So in corporate or businesses or 9-to-5s, it's pretty common when you hire a new employee, you'll put them on like a first 100 days plan of like, these are the milestones we're expecting you to hit. These are the metrics we're going to track. And we think, or we know, if you take these actions, it will give you the highest chance of success. If you were to think about someone starting today, never done DM sales before, what milestones, metrics, or actions would you advise them to take in the first 100 days to see the best success?
Okay. I love that. I'm going to start with, I would just study the heck out of your audience and out of your people, right? So I would put down like very specific, like, and just getting to know, and I mean their life, like where you're just really not what they can do for you, but like, oh, they're really busy. They're in multiple sports, like, and not, I'm going to cause a little fire. I don't believe in ideal clients. I don't think like any human is ideal. I just don't think that's the case, but regardless. So it's not like, oh, they're soccer moms, or, oh, they're this, or, oh, they use this font, or, oh, they're on. It's not that. It's just, what are real humans doing? Because when you understand what they're really doing, you're going to be able into that 100 days, be able to understand how to insert your offer and invite them in, because you're going to know that they're usually on social media after like recapping their friends. Well, they're probably not just all of a sudden going to start buying right then. You're going to know what their buyer or like just their human behavior is. So studying humans, being just obsessed with humans, understanding their real life and their language and how they're talking about how they need your offer. The second thing is that I would be writing down and really tangibly going after, what are the symptoms people have before they need my offer? What's the light bulb that's going to be in me that I'm going to understand, oh, they really need this. Like, I believe in this and they need it. So I'm having those symptoms. I would do a little skills test. And if you need a way to do this, like in the way that you do your best communication, send a message to your friend and say, hey, I'm a business coach and they are too. So you can say my business coaches told me, if you're listening to this, you can say my business coaches told me to send this to the people who know me the best. What are some of the ways that I communicate best to you? Like, how do you, when I communicate to you, what do you love about it? Ask the people in your world, your closest five people, see what they say. You know what? Every time you use this or you do that, believe them. And then when you're going to talk in DMs, you have that skill set that you know other people have called out in you, even if you don't see it in yourself. And I would do that. I would find out your skills.
I'm just
I and then
gonna
the last
I'm just gonna pause you for people that are just listening to you, watching the visual cues as you talk about sending a message. You do the holding a voice memo thing with your thumb of like you are giving the visual cues of I message with my voice.
I do. Yeah. And that my girls made me a shirt in the coaching that I do, and it says, 1 second, I'm just gonna use my voice. Because I start my if I'm gonna
Love it.
message them, I'm like, wait 1 second, 1 second, I'm just gonna use my voice or whatever, because that is the way that I do it. And so, but you know what? The freedom that comes in knowing that about yourself to go lead in that confidence and to serve people in that skill that you have, like it's a wonderful thing. So find that out for yourself in those first 100 days. Be willing to think it was one thing and it's actually another thing. Like that's the beauty of asking the community around us. And one of the last things that I would do is I would remove every barrier possible that would just not make it easy for people to do business with you. So if it's ideal for you to have a form before, if it's ideal for you, okay, let's lose some of those ideals in our building phases as we're building these relationships. Those luxuries kind of come a little bit later when we've earned them and when we're at a increase that cause and demand, like that's a little bit later. Um, One trick on this is send it to somebody who has absolutely no clue what you do and say, "Hey, if we were talking and I did this, like, is it easy to do business with me? Right now, you're supposed to book a session or book this. How would you do it? I can't give you any tips." Like, if it's hard for people to do it, then we need to remove some of those barriers. So that's, yeah, I would study the heck out of humans. I would identify systems. I would find out my skills and believe and walk in them. And I would remove any barrier and make booking with you like so easy, like so simple that it actually kind of feels a little wonky. Like this is too easy. Let it be that. Last little viewpoint is I would probably make visuals that land and stay on your phone so that you're able to almost make these little mini website one pagers infographic things so that you're not sitting people out of the conversation. Last
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you gave me an idea as you were talking about maybe you don't need a form just yet. Taking the questions that are on your inquiry form, asking them one at a time in the DMs as part of that conversation. Probably going to give you a lot more feedback.
Yep. Brilliant. Yep. Yep. And keeps it right there, keeps you in that conversation.
Yeah.
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 Idea.
Man, this has been fantastic. Okay, we're going to move into a lightning round. So we have just a few quick questions, rapid fire, that we will ask, and then we will start to wrap up. All right, first question is, what is a routine that you cannot live without?
Every Sunday night, I do a weekly meeting with myself and I sit down and go through my entire calendar for the week, a couple of weeks out, just get eyes on everything, go over my revenue goals, make sure that I'm able to live a present life by preparing for that day, doing a brain dump, scheduling out those brain dump tasks onto different days, making sure my off days are off days, but that weekly meeting, 10 out of 10.
So good. What is something that is bringing you joy right now?
Oh, this 150-pound snoring dude back behind my Great Dane, Hank. And I just moved, and the way that my house sits is the front windows see the sunrise every single morning. And then my back windows look at the sunset over a field. And I'm just a sunrise, sunset girly. And you can find me at
Fantastic.
sunrise and wake up. And at sunset, I'm just at the back windows.
That is the best.
Who are you learning from right now?
Mm. Y'all, you two, y'all. Genuinely in two different ways. Oh, there's like three things that pop in my mind. I'll go very fast. Truly in business, it's sitting in rooms that you guys create. It's so wonderful. I'm so grateful. I am learning a lot from, I'm an aunt to 17, and the joy that is in those kiddos. That is something I'm trying to bring back into my life. It's just more joy, more fun, more childlike faith. So learning a ton from them. And then honestly, the person that is teaching me a lot that I didn't ask for it is my past self, who is teaching me things that I no longer want to do or that I want to keep or whatever it might be. Just looking at that and saying, hey, what do I love and what do I want to shift?
That's great.
That's so powerful.
As we kind of wrap up here, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah. Speaking of cells, I just think this is, I have two. I have two questions. Now I'll say them at the same time. The first one is around sales. Where do you guys see the most joy in your sales? Like where it's just the easiest, it's most aligned. And do you guys, secondly, sell differently?
Okay. I think we might have different answers potentially. My answer to the first question, where I get the most joy, is similar to you when it's built off of relationships. I love it so much when a sale will just organically happen and I can see what someone needs because I'm paying attention to what they are saying and listening and say, we can help you with that. And it's such a fun way to be able to work together. It just is very, very fun. What is that? What's yours?
I think for me, just because like in the phase that I'm in is like, I like doing market research, which is not sales.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I like the diagnostic approach of like, I have skills. I learned things in my life, shockingly. And I want to help people solve their problems. But sometimes that doesn't fit in the tight container that we have. And we like to create new offers. And part of that for me is how do I take that approach and put it into selling the things we already have as well? So for us, like sales calls is a very diagnostic approach where 80% is just asking questions. And then the way my brain works is very structured. And all of those things you just said in a word vomit that doesn't make sense to you, that actually makes sense to me. And I heard these couple things and we're just putting the puzzle pieces together and our offer does actually solve that. But I have to put that in the terms that you just used in 20 minutes of just saying things that you apologized about 4 times that it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And those are honestly for me, my favorite is like face-to-face sales conversations where it's helping someone understand there is so much value that they have and they just need a little bit of help putting it into something that makes sense that will absolutely grow their business.
I love it. Yeah, but there's a different way. You guys both do each one of those things well. The last little thing, what do you guys like, Joe, what do you see in Lyndon that is his strength in like in making this work? And then Lyndon, what do you see in Joe? I
love this question so much. Okay. Something about Lyndon is he's really good about bringing clarity and structure to chaos. So everything that he just said, being able to help someone see the big picture that they're too in the weeds to see right now because everything happening up in their head and in life is just too much. He is so good at helping, like, repeat back to them what he heard and give them next steps where you can just see the relief in their body language after of like, I know what to do now, and someone actually gets me. He's really good at that.
I think this is the epitome of we structure ourselves as left brain, right brain.
Yeah.
Joe is fantastic at the empathetic of I am hearing these things from you and those aren't crazy, or I have felt those things, or this is a genuine emotion that this is a safe space to be in. And that is something that goes such a long ways and people don't take the time to just sit in the emotions. Even if being empathetic, you feel all those later and you have to still process those. And that's a whole different conversation. But in the sales process, that is something that I don't see often enough that she does really well.
What a fun question. I love that. I'm a words of affirmation girl, so that was fun. All right. This has been amazing. Y'all, if you're listening to this, I'm going to give you a spoiler alert because if you really enjoyed this conversation, Kendra is actually our guest speaker inside of the Breakroom for March, and she's going to be sharing even more about sales. So if you are struggling with your sales right now, you've had a recent slump in your sales, this is for you. If you want to have more consistent cash flow and increase your bottom line, this is also for you. It's going to be so good. As you can tell from this conversation alone, it's going to be really fun.
And I'm just going to tease her in here. We're going to go a little bit deeper on the psychology and some of the stats that
yes.
we were not able to pack in here. And I'm actually really excited to learn those as well.
It's going to be so good. So there's a couple of ways that you guys can sign up and make sure that you are in the room for that. We will have a link in the description for you to easily click. If you want to talk through it first to make sure it's actually a good investment for you, you can either message us at Joe and Linden on Instagram, or you can message Kendra. And Kendra, I'm going to let you go ahead and give your socials because I also want everyone to know where they can connect with you. So where can they connect with you?
Absolutely. Life and business is Kendra Ashton Photography. And then more just education and the passion of living present lives is Kendra Ashton Education.
Yep. And if you need to visualize, if you're listening and you need to visualize those handles, we'll have them listed in the description for you. Whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on Apple or Spotify, we got you. All right. Thank you, Kendra. This was seriously phenomenal. I know I said it was so good every time that you said something, but it really was so good. I am so grateful for you. I think I speak for both of us and our listeners. This was just fantastic. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. And to those of you listening, our last pretty please favor that we were going to request of you is if you really enjoyed today's episode, would you please leave a review and just tell us what you liked about it and give some love to Kendra too. That would be awesome. And it would just make our whole day.
And share it with your friends.
Yeah.
We're trying to grow right now.
That would be awesome too.
Our new little baby podcast would like some followers. So share with your friends.
Yeah, that would, honestly, I will do a happy dance over that. All right. You're amazing, Kendra. Y'all are amazing for listening all the way to the end. We appreciate you all, and we will see you next time. Bye.